Good morning, everyone. As we are waiting for everyone to join us today, we want to launch a brief poll where we can kind of get your interest or your knowledge on our particular subject today, which is closing the digital divide in rural areas. So we're glad you're here today, and we're going to go ahead and launch a poll in just a second. But the poll question is, for Mississippi's rural areas, what percentage of the population, of the rural population, does not have access to broadband? So Chelsea, if we'll go ahead and launch that poll, thank you. Right. It looks like the majority of our participants have answered the poll. So the answer is for Mississippi rural areas, 28.2% of the population does not have access to broadband, whereas only 10.7% of the state's urban population lacks access. So we can see the gap there. And this came from a study done by Mississippi State, RCU. I was telling Mr. Jordan, I think that this study was about 2 years old, so he's going to have even some more up to date information for us as well. So thank you all for participating in that poll. We'll move on here. So before we get started, we did just want to go over a few housekeeping items. Remember, this is a webinar, so we cannot see or hear you. But during the presentation, please feel free to use the chat box to communicate directly with the panelists, or you can also use the Q&A box. My colleague Chelsea is monitoring those questions, and she will ask those either during the presentation of Mr. Jordan, or she will save those till the end, and we'll have a time for Q&A at the end. All right, so today, as I said, we will be talking about closing the digital divide in rural areas. So just wanted to welcome y'all again to the webinar. I'm Shannon Grimsley, the Assistant Director of External Training and Partnerships for the Woodward Hines Education Foundation and the Get to College program. We're recording today's session, and we'll send a link to anyone who is registered. And for those watching this recording, today's date is May the 7th, 2024, and the material in this webinar is current through the 23-24 school year. In today's session, Closing the Digital Divide in Rural Areas, we will learn about what is happening in Mississippi to close this gap for the rural areas of our state. So I'll now share a little background on Get to College and a few logistics about the webinar before we get started. Get to College is a nonprofit program of the Woodward Hines Education Foundation. We have 3 centers in Mississippi, one in Jackson, Ocean Springs, and South Haven, and we help parents and students and high school counselors with all aspects of college planning and financial aid. And all of our services are completely free. In our centers, we offer personalized college counseling appointments where we can tell students when to apply for admission and scholarship. And we can also help them fill out their FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, or advise on essay writing or interview skills. So as we mentioned earlier during the webinar, we can't see or hear you, but we will be monitoring those questions. So feel free to message us and Chelsea will answer those questions for you or direct those questions to our panel. So I'd now like to introduce our guest speaker for the day. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Quinn Jordan. Quinn Jordan, first a Christian, married to Kim Jordan, is an accomplished executive with a passion for bridging the digital divide and creating opportunities for all Mississippians. Quinn graduated from Mississippi College with a degree in marketing and management and embarked on a successful career in various industries. With experience in telecommunications, private industry, and local government, Quinn brings a unique perspective to his role as the executive director of the Mississippi Broadband Association, MSBA. He is committed to ensuring that every Mississippian has access to affordable, high-speed broadband services. As a dedicated professional, Quinn finds joy in the challenges and rewards of leadership, collaborating with industry leaders, policymakers, and community stakeholders to make a meaningful impact. Quinn is dedicated to creating a future where all Mississippians have afforded accessibility to economical broadband services and the opportunities that connectivity provides. So thank you so much, Quinn, for being here today. And I am now going to turn the presentation over to you.
All right, I unmuted myself. I didn't know if you had to do it or not, but I do want to thank you for the invitation and Shannon and Chelsea for what y'all have done to kind of get this pulled together. You know, Mississippi for so long we find ourselves at the wrong end of the wrong list and the wrong end of the you know, it's no matter if we need to be first, we're last, and if we need to be last, we're first, and that's just one of those things and one of those obstacles that Mississippi has to address. And one of those ways that we can address our positions on a lot of these lists is connectivity. You know, when looking at connectivity, I want to back up and talk a little bit, give a little runway. So Mississippi has been afforded about $1.365 billion to close the digital divide. That number is a little bit understated, so we're close to, and that is public money coming from the federal government through Department of Treasury or through NTIA, which is National Telecommunications Information Agency. And what that money is meant to do is to incentivize internet service providers for building out into rural America where cost is an issue. You know, when looking at broadband and connectivity, I want to kind of back up to what this truly is. And this is an infrastructure bill. This is not only just an infrastructure bill, but it's also a workforce development bill. So I think it really hits into home what you do here at through your organization of Get to College and then other attendees on this call. You know, the BEAD, broadband accessibility, expansion accessibility program, what it is really geared towards the Biden administration is creating workforce jobs and as well as broadband connectivity. So when you look at this program, one of the big attributes and one of the biggest parts of the rubric, the funding rubric, is workforce development. So I definitely wanted to cover that and kind of give you an idea of how this bill is looked at federally and at the state level. We want to ensure that we are leveraging our local workforce development groups, career coaches, to understand that there is a great industry and a great future for individuals to enter into the broadband community. Looking at how we can do that, where MSBA is working with the state BEAM office, which is BEAM is Broadband Expansion Accessibility of Mississippi. So BEAM is the state office, BEAD is the federal program that's funding most of this expansion and its workforce development. But we want to make sure that we understand that workforce and workforce development is one of the first and foremost considerations as we look at how do we invest, not spend, but invest this $1.4 billion into the state of Mississippi. And so I'm going to move over while I'm talking. I'm going to bring up our presentation while we're doing that. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. The second part of connectivity and bridging the digital divide. So now we've talked a little bit really quickly about infrastructure and investing in the infrastructure as well as workforce development. But in order to close that digital divide, there's really three main areas that Mississippi Broadband Association has focused on at the grassroots community level. And we did that through our program called the Connected Literacy Program, which is a 501c3 tax deductible fund. So this program, I want to again thank you guys for attending today and listening intently for how we're going to look at and remove those barriers to digital opportunities across Mississippi. Mississippi Broadband Association is a 501c6. We partnered with a C3, which is a Community Foundation of Mississippi. With our goal is to assess our members and communities in the expansion, accessibility, and utilization of broadband services across Mississippi. I tell everybody we're member-centric, community-focused, and we are not part of or connected to the state broadband office. We do advocate and we do recommend policies and procedures for their consideration, but we are a standalone 501c6. And how that works is that I kind of tell everybody to know the difference between our association and the state broadband office is the state broadband office takes the federal funding and the federal programs to invest and build infrastructure across the state of Mississippi. And they work from the top down, from the money down through the internet service providers. Mississippi Broadband Association's focus starts at the community, where you see at the bottom there, resources for city and county leadership, while focusing on the household, ensuring access to broadband services by addressing barriers to digital opportunity. We work through the community up to the internet service provider. And that's where, if anywhere, ourselves and the Beam office intersect is that our members, which are the internet service providers, as an association, all the internet service providers that are interested are members of the Broadband Association here in Mississippi. And we ensure we're coordinating from the ground up and intersecting there at the provider level with the state broadband office. If you want to learn more about the MSBA, you can go to our website, www.msba.info. It's a very easy, user-friendly website. I do want to caveat that we do have, and I'm going to hit at the end, a May 17th conference. So all the stuff that we're covering today, we're going to go into very in-depth levels and discussion around what is broadband, how are we going to invest as a state. We have state, local, and federal guests that will be there at our conference, starting with the Beam office there, the state broadband office, Senator Wicker, which is a major proponent for broadband expansion in Mississippi, our senator that works tirelessly on the Hill to ensure that we're, as Mississippians, have the access to federal support and federal regulations that encourages broadband accessibility across the state. Senator Wicker will be there. We'll have members from the FCC, but we'll get to that in a minute. But just want to make sure that if you want to learn more about our association, you're welcome to do so. We'll go to the next slide. It's a little slow. There we go. On the poll, if you mentioned earlier, it was how many unserved and underserved locations are in Mississippi. It was the number was 28 point something earlier. That poll is about a year and a half old, and we have decreased the number of households in the state of Mississippi that are unserved or underserved broadband locations. The definition of unserved is that you don't have any service that is 100 over 20, which is 100 megabits down, 20 megabits up. So you guys that are maybe at home doing attending this seminar through Zoom, or if you're in your office, the 100 is how fast you get my voice and my feed. The 20 is if you were to speak or to present, how fast your computer can upload to the system. And so it's really neat how that works. So unserved is 100 over 20. And then underserved is services between 120 down to 25 over 3. Now the FCC a couple of weeks ago changed the what is broadband, the definition of broadband, and moved it from a 25/3 up to 100/20. And so the underserved broadband locations that you're looking there kind of has went away, and we consider anything under 100/20 as unserved locations in the state of Mississippi. So the state has implemented pots of money called BIP, which is was a federal fund. They're now administering a capital projects fund, CPF. It's about 135 million. And so that's how those numbers have come down from 28 down to 20% of all households. There we go. You can go to the state broadband office website, which is beam.ms.gov. And if you want to look and see if your area is served, underserved, they have a map. Look up the BEAD map, BEAD map, and you can select on that. What that does is it'll allow you to go in and search. You can actually search by your home address. It'll tell you who your providers are. The state has done a great job with their mapping partner, Ready.net, to really get a granular look at the data here in Mississippi. What is MSBA's vision? So MSBA, Mississippi, where every household and business has access to high quality, affordable broadband services, enabling them to fully participate in the digital economy and take advantage of the numerous opportunities it affords. We're living in a society that broadband is no longer a luxury. It's moved to a necessity. And as a household, if you look at those pictures there, you see senior adults, you see parents with children, you see multi individual, single age individuals there. All of these individuals require, not need, access to high-speed, affordable broadband services, especially as we have a growth in telehealth services, educational opportunities and tutoring, and other ancillary and supportive services that are brought over. But I tell everybody, in the next 20 years, you won't have a technician that shows up to your house to diagnose a problem for your refrigerator. Your refrigerator, like heavy equipment that is already doing now in the logging industry, it will be connected back to a server. The technician will be able to sign in, diagnose the problem, and then send a technician out with the part to fix it. You know, it's just, we live in that world now where we need, and the industry wants to talk to every bit of our electronics in order to be efficient and effective. But let's talk about a little bit about Mississippi's reality. So for some reason, I can't see let me move something here. I can't see that top bullet there, but there's a large percentage of the population at risk of missing out on the digital opportunities. 42.5% of our population is at or below the 200% poverty line. 6.7% of households in the state do not have a computer in the home. You know, that looks like a small number, but when you're looking at the amount of people that we have and the amount of households, that's a tremendous amount of households in the state of Mississippi that just have no access to a large screen device to be able to take advantage of telehealth services, educational training opportunities for their children, large screen access to job search or workforce development opportunities. There's a lot of people in Mississippi that are being held up or handcuffed to be able to better their lives. 32% of working adults in Mississippi, or excuse me, nationally, is digitally illiterate. That's a lot of people, and it's really in the aging population or aging adults. And we say, well, you know, that's not our workforce, but unfortunately, as we know, our workforce is getting older, and because people are having to stay in the workforce longer, so therefore those individuals have to really be invested in. It is higher in the African American and Hispanic communities, right at 50% of the workforce is digitally illiterate. 79.3% of Mississippi counties are rural. So it really takes a picture of showing that Mississippi is a very rural state with cost issues. When you look at deployment of networks, for example, when you look at building a network, you look at customers per mile. But in the Mississippi Delta and other regions across the state of Mississippi, we start looking at miles per customer. So it's very expensive to build out these networks. And without federal funds and with federal injected funds into broadband deployment and network builds, we just simply would not get it. So the federal government got it right here, and it's going to allow us to have access. But I tell everybody that we, you, me, we play an important role in how we sustain these rural networks. Because if the internet passes your home and you're not taking that service, not only are you doing a disservice to yourself, but you're doing a disservice to the community. And why I say that is that, you know, we need as many people taking these networks as possible so that these internet service providers are able to sustain these high cost rural networks. So if the internet service provider is building out into your area and there's 2 people per mile, they need every one of those customers to be able to sustain these networks. So not only are you doing something for yourself, but you're ensuring that the network in totality is being maintained for all individuals in your community. Mississippi has a plan. And so when you look at what Mississippi plan, I'm going to read that little article there. Well, I said I wouldn't. The little thing there is blocking me out of the way. But what do we live for if not to make life less difficult for each other? The State Broadband Office, again, has that $1.365 billion that I spoke to earlier. And MSBA has chosen to address those barriers to digital opportunity called through our Connect and Literacy Fund. Affordability is the first thing we're going to talk about, digital literacy, and then device distribution. Those three legs of the stool, if you pull out one of any of those legs, the stool falls over. So all of these issues have to be addressed in one fund and one goal. Fund objective is to work with local stakeholders and partners to remove these barriers. Impact, Mississippi will have a better and brighter future regarding to education, telehealth services, and the digital economy. But the last thing is the quality of life of residents. As we look at, as I mentioned earlier, we're moving from broadband being a luxury to a necessity. Individuals' lives will be impacted exponentially by having connection to the World Wide Web. Step 1 is affordability. That's the first thing that MSBA is going to work on and is already working on. We've launched a pilot in Warren County. We've got 30 people that is taking our class, 15 is taking the digital literacy, and 15 is taking the device ownership study. But the first thing that we work on is affordability. There's a misnomer or when you define the word affordability, the first thing our minds go to is the cost of the service. And that is true. I mean, we've got to be able to, as a household or as an end user, have to be able to afford the service. The problem is that affordability has a bigger and broader definition than just that. So we are working through MSBA to ensure affordable broadband for all Mississippians through the Affordable Connectivity Program. Now, the Affordable Connectivity Program, you may hear this first, but is about to go unfunded. Maybe this is the first time you've heard of it. Maybe it hasn't. But I will give you a little bit of excitement and a little bit of hope. From what I understand, there's a bill that's going to be introduced tomorrow to hopefully save the program last minute. That from all understanding, there's a good chance that we could get it to pass the Senate. If that were to happen, what does that mean? That means that those households that are already signed up for the Affordable Connectivity Program will continue to receive that $30 benefit on their bill. But again, if that program does go away, what can we do around affordability? Well, our job at MSBA is to encourage internet service providers to offer a low-cost, high-speed 100/20 product that is sufficient for the demands of the industry and the end user at the household. But, here's the affordability program. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because it is up in the air. But what I will say this is that the $30, everybody agrees that the $30 monthly service allowance is a good thing for our lower income households. However, the qualifying requirements of 200% And those eligibilities, I think you'll see some changes if the bill passes tomorrow. And so I'm excited about the opportunity that may come there. In Mississippi, 53% of our population is eligible. Now, when they do the reform, I think it's going to drop down to around 30% of individuals, and that reform is going to go down from 200% of poverty down to 135% of poverty. If you're familiar with the Lifeline Project, that Lifeline Project is kind of they're going to use the parameters utilized for Lifeline and apply it to ACP. But it takes the community, it takes grassroots work to be able to get ACP done, and we have worked as an association to hopefully get that continued. But advocacy to the internet service providers is where affordability takes a broader definition. We are encouraging our internet service providers to offer debt forgiveness programs, minimal upfront equipment costs, prepaid options, low cost service options, benchmarked against ACP of around $30, but that does not require them to, we're not asking them to rate fix, we're just asking them to be as close to the economical affordability connectivity program cost structure. We recommend at least a 50/10 on those minimum, but we'd love to see 100/20 on the low cost option. And those are telehealth, education, entertainment, and new way of life is what's impacted through affordability. But before I go to digital literacy, there's one more component that we have to understand, and I'm working with the Communities Unlimited to put it together. But the community also has a role to play in affordability. And what I mean by that is, we find things to budget for that's important to us as an individual or as a household. And so, encouraging and communicating with the end user and the households on the value and the ROI that they have as a household when they get internet service and subscribe to it. The first thing we got to remember is that they can replace or cut the cable or to actually do away with satellite service and stream their entertainment. So they could actually take the money that is being budgeted on a monthly basis in the household and reapply it to broadband connectivity. When they reapply it to broadband connectivity, of course, we understand that broadband is kind of the road. And then Netflix, Hulu is the car that goes over the road that brings the service to the home. So there are some overlay costs of having broadband. So let's say if you have a $40 a month broadband bill, and then you want to have 2 or 3 subscriptions, you still may spend $60, $70, but usually it's in line with what in rural America through satellite service, it's in line with that cost. Now in urban settings, with cable, that may be a little bit more expensive than you're spending on cable, but remember that you can utilize that money that you're spending on your cable for your internet as well as your entertainment. Digital literacy is the next part that we're addressing through the program. So now that we've addressed how it is affordable for the household to have it, now we've got to address the component, do you understand and know how to use it? So curriculum, facilities, and instructors. Those are our 3 areas that we focus on the digital literacy. We partnered with a national group called Tech Goes Home to utilize their training materials and structure, partnering with the Mississippi community colleges, but also looking for anchor institutions, churches, and then instructors in the area, the counties. The way we want to formulate this is that we want to base it on the 15 community colleges ecosystem and do our training out from there to, in a rotating basis, to the communities and counties that are represented within those 15 community ecosystems. What do you learn in the training? It's internet safety. They call it e-safety, but yet it's internet safety. Functional skills, how to utilize, how to create documents, effective communication skills through email, selecting and searching for information safely, being able to collaborate on with other documents through maybe Google Docs and that kind of stuff. This is a 15-hour program. It's done over 3 days. And we hope, again, to do this in all 15 ecosystems. our partners that we want to work with on this, and we're still continuing to work this. Our focus is the community colleges, the extension service, local anchor institutions. Those are the people that we really are trying to work with. Instructors are key. And so if you live in one of those 15 community colleges and you maybe be interested in being a part of digital literacy, we could utilize your services and be able to find that trusted, educated, and respected, well-organized, and community-oriented instructors to be able to take that. I have a quote from our first class over the weekend, and just really raved at Corey, our instructor there at Hines Community College in Vicksburg, and his ability to connect with the people, and having those kind of people is going to be extremely important. The third thing is device ownership. You can, now that we've affected affordability, now we know how to utilize it. What happens if we don't have a device in the home? So I always ask people, do you consider your cell phone as your main source of data services or broadband services? And if it is, you really do not have access to the internet. You have a window to peek through, but not a door to walk through. And so utilizing and making sure these individuals have device ownership is going to be huge. Why is the device so important? Again, it's the end user's connection to the world and the digital economy. Yet again, if we said earlier, 6.7% of Mississippi residents lack that in-house device. Does an individual qualify for a device in our program? Number one, do they qualify for ACP? Have they completed our digital literacy class hosted by MSBA or one of our sponsors? And do they plan to keep the device in the home for more than 12 months? If an individual takes our digital literacy class, they get a free device at the end of the program as the carrot. However, if they put on their schedule that they have one or two computers in the home, we ask them not to take a computer because we can utilize that computer in a household that needs it. So digital opportunity, an individual has conquered these three barriers. They are afforded all opportunities connectivity has to offer. If you look at that quote at the bottom, it really summarizes that if we want everybody to participate, we've got to get everybody in the game. What is our impact? Better access to education, better healthcare, stronger economy, and just a better way of life. When people are connected to the internet, they're able to access the services that it affords. They can invest in themselves. Statistically speaking, for every household that moves from an unconnected household to a connected household, the average income in that house goes up $2,202. Saying that those individuals either have a better educational system access to, they find ways to do online, maybe even online sales through marketplace, through other areas, but also including increasing their educational resources to get better and higher paying jobs. How does connectivity influence the individual socially, financially, and psychologically? And I'm just going to focus, the first two are pretty self-explanatory, through meeting people where they're at, through their social media platforms, and just kind of staying connected. Financially, of course, is opportunity for better life, but psychologically, is that peace of mind that they're able to provide to their family, the affordabilities of what broadband brings to them, but also it allows them to invest in a better life for the future generations. How impactful is this to the state? It's going to create lower unemployment rates, skilled labor jobs are going to increase, reduce the demand on social dependency, and workforce development improvements, and then a higher tax base. When you recruit and maintain higher paying jobs in your state through being able to work from home, like I'm actually doing right now, it allows us to retain those high quality employees that pay higher tax rates. So again, higher tax rates is better services. Impact on the internet adoption rates. We've got to get these people to understand that once they can afford it, they know how to utilize it, and they have a computer, all of a sudden they start connecting to the internet, which will help sustain this 1.365 billion in network expansion. So let recap, we're focusing on affordability, digital literacy, and device distribution. NL Fund questions and constructive feedback. This is kind of where I'm going to stop here. And so Shannon or Celeste, if anything you'd like to add, or how are we doing on time?
We are doing really good on time. Chelsea, did we have any questions in the
We did
chat or
not.
the Q&A?
We did not have any questions.
Okay, did not have any questions. Okay. So yeah, we're good right now. Is there anything else you wanted to go over? Okay.
So what time is the webinar over? What time
probably got about 10 or 15 more minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So what I would like to go now is let's look at the I don't think we're going to talk anymore about the fund. I think we're because these are about investment. These are investment if you want to invest in the program. What I'd like to do is back up and talk about workforce and workforce development if we could. So I'm gonna stop sharing my slides and really just kind of have a fireside chat a little bit on workforce and workforce development. Shannon, and I'd love for you guys to chime in if you would like to be a part of the conversation. But, you know, we started this whole conversation about workforce and infrastructure bill that was more about, you know, everybody thinks we're just building these networks to connect people. But this bill is also just like when the interstate system was created or when electrical rural co-op was created, you know, electricity into the communities. You know, this is investment in individuals, but it's also investment in jobs. And as this group is so importantly represented is, we've got to start recruiting this industry in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We've got to get information out to, I call it the K-10 environment, about opportunities for jobs within the broadband industry. And so we've partnered with Duraline Academy, as well as Fiber Broadband Association, and then the Power Communications Contractors Association, and then also the Beam State Broadband Office to look at a ladder of success program around broadband workforce and workforce development. You know, looking at broadband and broadband workforce development, we first started with the Broadband Boot Camp, which is an online group of classes that we're piloting right now at Franklin County and in Lincoln County. If you know of any schools that would be interested in taking some of these mini courses and being part of this pilot, you're welcome to reach out to me, and I can send you the link. It's a little short presentation, and on that presentation, you actually click on it, click on the link that gives you access to set up an account. And we're focusing on, I think it was 9th through 12th graders in this pilot to take this. I think it's about, well, I know what it is. It's 5 areas that we're doing. It's a pre-event survey, 3 mini courses, and then a post-event survey. It'd take less than an hour to do all 5 tutorials. And what it does is it kind of introduces people to what is broadband and what careers are available in the industry. Again, less than an hour, a student can go through this. What we're doing is sending it out to the high schools through key technical teachers and allowing them to, you know, take this data so we can look at it and see, you know, does providing online training spark interest for the industry and to recruit people. Once we get that done and we kind of get people interested in the industry, we're working with the community college system here in the state of Mississippi to introduce what we're calling the Intro to Broadband class, which kind of goes through and it's a dual enrollment for our seniors as well as non-traditional students that want to kind of get an understanding of what the industry is and what training is available throughout the state of Mississippi within that industry. Once an individual graduates with that certificate, they're able to move. It's a 1 semester class. They can either move directly into the workforce they would have like their OSHA 10, intro to CDLs, dressed as success, but also exposure to what the industry is and what the training is available. They can move directly into the industry, or they can move into additional training through the workforce development or CTE groups at our community colleges to get additional certificates or certifications. And so Mississippi has a plan, and I said that earlier, but it starts with our workforce. You know, if we don't have a workforce that is developed and ready to implement this $1.4 billion worth of network build out, two things are going to happen. We're going to drag this thing out. And so therefore rural areas are going to continue like mine. I'm communicating today on Starlink because I'm one of those rural communities that does not have access to high-speed broadband. So I have to have satellite service. The point being is that, you know, workforce is going to be the key of us building out these networks in a timely manner. And so a lot of this stuff that we've talked about today, I want to end with this, will be covered at our May 17th conference in Jackson. I'll drop it in the chat, but if you're interested in learning more about the broadband industry and how we're going to close the digital divide here in Mississippi, we'll have, you know, we have a jam-packed agenda that will start about 8:20 that Friday morning, and we'll go all the way through 3:45 that afternoon with just nugget after information on how we're going to achieve a connected Mississippi. And so I'll drop that in the chat. If you'd like to join us, we'll have lunch provided. Senator Wicker will be here. The FCC is going to be here talking about initiatives that we're working on in Mississippi. The state broadband office is going to be here. We're going to have a breakout session with our career coaches and with our community colleges. So if you're one of those groups and like to join, please feel free to join in to the and RSVP to the summit and make the drive to Jackson to Millsaps on May 17th. We will also offer a virtual option for the main conference room, but we have not in the past offered a Zoom link for the breakout on the community college level. So that's what I have today. I don't know if that helped at all.
Absolutely. It certainly helped me because I didn't know a lot about all the information that you gave to us. And I know we have a lot of career coaches, which you touched on that. A lot of our career coaches in that course is amazing and wonderful. So really glad that those courses are being offered to our students. So was there any other questions in the chat, Chelsea?
Nope. No questions. I did go ahead and add that information for the summit on May 17th in the chat for you, Quinn. So that is there for everyone to go and check out.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Well, we're glad to make this connection today, Quinn, and I'm glad that our educators have made this connection. So hopefully, if they have questions, they'll contact you and check out your conference. So we really appreciate you being here today. So just going to wrap up very quickly with all of our educators. So thank you again for being here. And if you want to drop your email or contact info in the chat, then you could do that too. So folks can pick that up as well. So thank y'all for being here. We hope that you found this presentation helpful. We will email you this recording for the webinar in the next couple of days, and we'll also post it on our YouTube channel. So if you missed it or you have friends that would like to go back and watch it, we will put it on our YouTube channel. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to contact us at Get to College, or feel free to contact Quinn. I'm going to go back and share my presentation really quickly. Gonna have to hold on just a second.
Hey Shannon, while you're doing that,
yeah, sure.
I got a question to the career coaches. If one of them, if there's some on here, what type of information have y'all received about the broadband industry as far as, you know, getting information into your tech programs? Have y'all received anything? Is there So that would be my question. Is there any type of information being funneled down to the career coaches about this industry? So if anybody could answer that, or even if the answer is no, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so we'll see if any folks answer there.
If not, you can email me directly if you would like to keep your statements
On the
anonymous.
download. Yeah. Not sure, who exactly is on the presentation, but I think that's definitely something that very valid question, and we can also work with our career coaches, Quinn, to see if we can get the answer to that question as well. So.
Yeah, I think, and what is their, and I'd like to send them this link to this pilot that we're doing, and have them kind of go through the training themselves to see what needs to be added or tweaked, because they know what the kids respond to, right?
Absolutely.
So
so if you want to send that over to me, Quinn, and we'll see if we can get that information out to our career coaches as well. We'll see if we can kind of help you push that out, that question.
I'm going to reply back to you and Madison Carroll from Duraline. She's the one that's helping me put all that together and kind of open up some dialogue, and then she can get all that to you and kind of work through that.
Absolutely. All right. So just finishing up just our just kind of our housekeeping. This is the last, of course, webinar of our spring series for the Topic Tuesday series. But we're happy to announce that we will continue the Topic Tuesday series for the 24-25 school year. So we will we'll be meeting this summer to decide what topics we might be putting out for the 24-25 school year. If you have any suggestions, make sure you're dropping those suggestions in the survey that we'll send out for the end of the series. We really do look at your recommendations to plan for the next year. So everything we had on the docket for this past year was a recommendation by the participants in the previous years. So make sure you take some time to think about that so that we can really give you the topics that you're interested in the next school year. So again, this is our last Topic Tuesday for the year. The CEU policy next year will be the same as it is this year, that if you participate in 5 of our Topic Tuesdays, you can get 0.5 CEUs, and if you participate in all 10, you get 1 CEU. So that process will still stay the same. And speaking of CEUs, I will submit all participants' total hours for the year to Mississippi College this week for their review. Also this week, I'll be emailing each participant a form with their hours listed and the CEU form from Mississippi College that you can use to submit and pay for your CEU credits. So if you have reached the 5 or 10 mark, be looking for an email from me, most likely tomorrow, letting you know that you did qualify for the 0.5 or the full CEU, and I'll have that form with you that you can mail in. Okay, so give me till at least tomorrow, and I'll have those out to you. So thank you again one last time for your participation in this year's Topic Tuesdays. We look forward to continuing to serve you with this series and many other educator trainings over the next academic year. So please make sure you're completing those surveys. We value your input and use these results to improve each year. And as always, if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to contact us on any of our outlets. So thank you again, Mr. Jordan, for your participation, and thank you all for our successful year of Topic Tuesday. Just a few more days, educators. I know you're holding on for dear life. You will get there, and we hope that you will enjoy your summer, and feel free to reach out to us throughout the summer if you have questions, but otherwise, enjoy your time off. Thanks again so much. See y'all later.